I'm not sure Tatum and Brown, or at least Brown, because that's the guy who's giving me this message, or at least that's from, in my opinion, right? I don't think Brown's crazy about his teammates. I don't know if he's crazy about the talent, or at least, you know what I'm saying. I don't.
All the no comments.
I don't think it's personal. I just think he's just not, eager to give out the ball for, an open Shemi Ojale all the time. He's been hinting at whenever there's a question about chemistry, or whenever there's a question about, what is it? What went wrong on the offense? Play breakdowns, no comment. Or I'm not sure how to answer that. It's like he's avoiding that because he doesn't want to spill what exactly is on his mind. You know what? A week ago, after a loss, he talks about how much he believes in this organization and believes in management and that they'll do the right thing. Are you waiting for a big trade here, Jaylen? And if that's the case, all right, that's fine. You are just like the rest of all the other Celtics fans are. But at the same time, how happy are you going to be after that happens, right? Whatever Danny puts together or whatever pieces he brings onto this team, how is Jaylen going to respond to that, And how is the team going to respond to it as a whole? But yeah, so it's definitely crossed my mind, John, for sure, because, Jaylen, Tatum, these guys have been underneath Brad's wing for quite some time now. Who's to say that they won't reach a point where they say, you know what, let's do things differently. Let's do things our way now, because I don't believe in this personnel or the direction this team is going in.
Well, let me ask you guys. There's a couple people in the chat here, and I wonder this. And again, I'm not trying to stir crap, but
you are, but I like it. I like what you're doing.
I'm not trying, because I don't believe it's one thing necessarily. I don't have an agenda here. I just wonder, okay? And so the no comments that Brown, and again, for people not necessarily like in tune with what we're talking about, he's had a couple of press conferences, post-game press conferences last week or so, where he's been asked questions just about general basketball-related stuff, not hot topics like, is Brad on the hot seat and do you still respect your coach? Just like, how's the ball movement? Really innocuous stuff. And he's no commented it.
Stuff, man.
It really, really simple stuff. And he's no commented those answers. And that makes people's mind race. That's the stuff that Kyrie used to do with this faux intellectual, I'm above it all cryptic nonsense where he'd act, and he'd say something and you'd have to chase and interpret. What did he mean by that? Who was he talking about? Was this directed at someone? Was that a shot at Brad? So now Jaylen's doing it. And you got a couple people in the comments here saying, we're all saying, Josue, you mentioned, I think it's the bench. A couple of people in the comments saying, I think it's Tatum. I don't know. I thought you think that they're close. They've said things before in the past, but I don't know. What if the other night really freaked me out where 3 games ago, he only had 11 shots in a game. Then he came out last game and in the first quarter, literally shot like 13 times in the first quarter. And that to me felt like I didn't get mine last game. I'm getting it now. And that feels a little grabby, like I'm getting mine when I can because who knows when I'm going to get it again. It could be Brad's not working me in. Brad's not telling these guys to work the ball to me, or this guy's dominating the ball too much and I just get left out. And so I don't know. And it's weird when that happens.
I saw a little bit of that in the fourth quarter, actually, John, tonight.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so he got the ball. You knew he wasn't passing. He wasn't going to go fake. He was going straight to the rim or taking his shot. Yeah.
So
I see. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Bob.
No, so yeah, okay. Go, Bob.
Sorry, guys.
I see Kemba's arrival as something that's set Brown off his pace a little bit here. We're not seeing him on the ball as much. They're trying to get Kemba going, and that's been more of a conflict to me than anything going on between Tatum and Brown. But I generally like the approach of Brown. Like defensively, he's had some lapses in this last week, and who hasn't on this team this year? But he gets his head downhill. I know we never talk about him on here, so like you got to give him credit for those 2 ginormous shots he hit where he gets into the lane. First one was that nice elbow jumper. Second one, he got all the way to the rim. He always is going downhill, which is what we need to see here more often, but he doesn't have the ball in his hands enough. So like you can look at that and say like, he needs his shots, he needs his look, he needs his points. Yeah. No, he's generally awesome, all-star player who they're better with the ball in his hands. So like, and this is why I keep advocating, have Kemba almost entirely off the ball.
Why can't we have nice things? Like, why is it that the arrival of a borderline all-star guard is bad? Right. Can these guys not play with more than one other talent? Like, it can't be both. You can't look around and say there's not enough talent there, but also when you work more talent into this team, it throws off their rhythms. Like, what do you want to be? Do you want to be Harden and Westbrook and play that style, and you guys have the ball all the time?
I don't think Brown plays that way.
A way to play with talent around you. Like, you're driving talent out the door right now because they don't have a big enough role. And like Kemba coming back should be good. And it's throwing Brown off his game because people aren't getting the ball enough. Like, I that's a crap excuse for me.
Right. And so I mentioned this last show. It's like a lot of really, really good players have come and gone from this Celtics team. And you're essentially building around Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You better hope that they're good enough to be the centerpieces of this team because, like you just said, John, when you're adding other good players, they should be able to coexist and mesh together and get better. You're adding good players to the mix, get better. And believe it or not, I thought Shaq said something before the game. I was watching the TNT broadcast. And he said Kemba needs to be selfishly unselfish, which I'm not sure if that makes any sense. But what he was saying was Kemba needs to obviously get Tatum and Brown involved, right, because they're important. But he also needs to play his game. He needs to get himself involved. He needs to look for his shot. You can't ask Kemba Walker to completely change how he has become Kemba Walker. No, you can't, Bobby.
He's not as good as Jaylen Brown. He's not even close.
I know, but
then
he becomes useless.
Then he becomes just another guy.
No, he'll have to become useful another way.
Just another guard, Bobby. He's just another guard.
You can't sign Kemba Walker and then say, don't be Kemba Walker anymore. Sorry.
You can when he goes to become a 34% shooter.
It's not going to work that way. He still has to get Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum involved, obviously, and I'm sure he's well aware of that, and he does. I think he works on doing that. But he still has to get himself involved, and they have to get him involved. That's how this is going to work. You can't bring in an all-star player and say, hey, we want you to do a complete 180 on who you are and, get out there and, let's win some games. It's just not going to work that way. As the point guard, he needs to do what's best for the team, but he also needs to – part of what's doing best for the team is getting himself going and putting himself in a position to succeed and to play well. That's how he's going to turn this thing around for himself. So the first three quarters, obviously, he struggled tonight. But in that fourth quarter, you saw Kemba Walker. That's the Kemba Walker that you brought to Boston. The Kemba Walker that hits the trailing three-pointer. The Kemba Walker that drives to the rim and takes a three-pointer, gets fouled, and hits the free throw. You need 20-plus points from Kemba Walker every night. You're not going to get that if you make him sacrifice everything he's known to be for the sake of Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, who at the moment don't appear interested in getting that many other people involved, by the way.
5 assists from Brown tonight. He turns it over a little bit. He's in the first year being a facilitator. He's done a phenomenal job on the ball. And do you think they just handed Brown an all-star bid over Trae Young and some of these there's nothing about Brown that's turning eyeballs toward the game. He earned this with a phenomenal first half that was largely driven by him being on the ball and making this team better. It's been and we talked about this when it happened. It was going to be a massive challenge.
Shooting at an unsustainable clip. And again, we shared this on our text thread again today. He's been a below average shooter for the last 14 games after going at a ridiculous clip. The truth is somewhere in the middle, which is what he was doing early was obviously made that much greater by the fact that he literally couldn't miss a shot from anywhere. I mean, he was making the lowest percentage shot in basketball at a 62% clip. I mean, it's just impossible to do what he did. So that not masked it. But look, if he was doing what he was doing, shooting 23 times a game and only making 8 or 9 of them, we'd be like, well, Brown's really friggin' hunting for his shot, huh? So again, he's somewhere in the middle right now, which is, some games great, some games he's shot a few duds.
He's struggling recently, absolutely, and that's fine.
He's not struggling. He's down from being the best scorer in the league, which is where he was to start the year.
He's forcing shots. He's forcing shots now, and he's taking tougher shots. They're just not dropping. Before they were dropping. I still love him. Like I said, Bobby, he made another leap here. He has to have the ball in his hands, and I like the fact that he's the most aggressive of all. I think he was breaking guys down a little bit better before, but again, I think it's almost that the curse of hitting the shot, that mid-range shot, hitting it as frequently as he was. You start to settle for it, and I think he's kind of finding his way back into things right now because, that was it. He was taking too many of those and he was making all of them. I liked Paul Jaylen, who was going to the basket friggin' left and right. And I like this version too, but like I said, he was just shooting in an unsustainable clip for too long.
Right. I mean, it's good that he's adding that to his game. And let's be honest, he was the best player on the Celtics tonight. So, I mean,
he was clearly the best player tonight.
Yeah. I mean, what I just talked about was about getting Kemba Walker going. It wasn't really a shot. I mean, it wasn't a knock on Jaylen Brown. But these guys all need to be functioning together. It can't be this guy needs to sacrifice for this guy and this guy needs – they all need to be able to play their style of the game. So they're all going to have to figure that out.
So can we go back – because we keep running into this situation, and for some reason, like, you know, when he has a couple of good games, we're like, oh, all that Kemba slander wasn't warranted. And then he has 2 shit games in a row. And again, he bounced back last night. But if we're Bobby, at the beginning of the show, you said Kemba's not the issue right here. And now just recently you said Kemba is the issue because they're not playing as well with him back into the flow of things. So again, what are we doing here with Kemba? And obviously he lit it up late and made up for what was not a great night for him. But is he a problem or is he part of the solution?
I think he's getting closer to being the solution. He's picking up this off-ball activity faster than I thought he would. You know, cutting back line, funneling out a nice pass to Tatum during that comeback. You know, the first shot he hit there was a bit of a heave. You know, fortunately got fouled on it. And then the third one was a nice rhythm shot in transition. I see him shooting better off the catch, which is where he needs to get to here. Now, Walker came here as an explosive offensive player, but I never knew him as a great facilitator. You know, this isn't – even Kyrie Irving was a better facilitator than Kemba. He was able to spray the ball a little bit, sometimes be that pure point guard on certain nights if he put his mind to it. But Kemba –
Ooh, you hate to see that. You really, truly hate to see that happen.
I can't – Bobby needs to do something with his Wi-Fi, man. Like, it's getting ridiculous, you know?
It is – the Wi-Fi is unexcusable, Bobby.
Jeez.
What happened?
You always do this, bro. Come on, man.
Take too hot for Wi-Fi.
Go ahead, Bobby. You still got the floor. Got the floor.
I was just saying, if he's going to be on the ball, he's got to increase his ability as a facilitator because you don't see Brown scoring off him. It's always just right into the shot attempt. And that's why I'm not going to rip Brown because Brown's putting his mind to passing and getting the ball around. I don't see what that Jeff Goodman source saw when it comes to Brown, at least. You know, we see Tatum stopping the ball a little bit. We certainly see it with Kemba. And now Kemba's done a better job. That's what I'm giving him credit for, in being an off-ball scorer, shooter, those kind of things. But if he's going to be on the ball, playmaking as much as he is and he was tonight, he's got to do a better job spreading the ball around himself. Like, the ball needs to be in the hands who get the ball popping, who push in the transition. And he did a little bit of that tonight. You know, we know Peyton Pritchard does that to some degree, but it just can't stop. Like what you described, John, everybody getting involved and everybody getting theirs, that's got to come from ball movers. That's got to come from facilitators. And maybe that's something they have to bring in from the outside.
Maybe even a coach.
You know what, Bobby? That's a good point because I think the only person that I feel – I shouldn't say the only person, but one of the person that in the second quarter of this game that I felt like, okay, wow, this is the cleanest brand of basketball I've seen from the Celtics offense was when it was Peyton Pritchard.
Pritchard played good in that first half.
But do you remember that second quarter I'm talking about, though?
Yeah.
It was Pritchard, Nesmith, I want to say Kemba, right? And maybe one more starter, and that was it. Yeah, Rob and maybe Thompson was out there up front. But it was just clean, crisp basketball, you know, no turnovers. Pritchard got assists. He ended the run with the three-pointer in the corner. They called timeout, and I felt like that was a little bit of a preview of what the future is going to look like when Pritchard eventually is the point guard of this team. But I'm getting too ahead of myself. But listen, like, again.
Is that an adjustment? Could they do that?
Can you keep that on the, you know, can that be consistent for this team? Like that little part of the second quarter, like why can't we get that all the time? And I'm not saying it has to be Pritchard, but that sort of brand of basketball where, you know, 4 or 5 possessions no turnovers and aggressive defense. That's nothing too. That lineup played a lot of defense between him and Nesmith, a lot of energy.